Tonight wasn't just another political talk show. It was a collision of memory, power, and unfinished arguments. On NBS Frontline, the studio transformed into a battlefield of words where past statesmen returned to confront the present and alliances were tested in real time. What began as a discussion quickly turned into a gripping exchange between seasoned voices like Ofono, Opondo, and Norbert, each armed not just with opinion but with history. Tonight's debate wasn't about who speaks louder. It was about who stands consistent, who shifts with power, and who dares to remind the country of what was once said. NBS Frontline Debate. The first thing the host said, another hole in the house. The studio lights were hot, the hair charged, and the audience already leaning forward in anticipation. The host, with a teasing smile, dropped the line casually, but it landed like a spark in dry grass. Another hole in the house. A simple phrase, yet it carried the weight of identity, rivalry, and the kind of tension that makes live television unforgettable.
Otto, another OO in the house. Good to have you. Would it be fair for us to draw our expectations of the 12th Parliament based on the precedent of the past parliaments?
Secondly, Dr. Otto replied, first of all, I hope it was not a slip of the tongue. I am double ho, I am not ho ho. Without hesitation, Odonga Otto leaned forward, his voice calm but firm, cutting through the laughter that had begun to ripple across the room. This was not going to be a passive appearance. This was correction, clarification, branding. I am double ho. He insisted, drawing a line that no one in that room could ignore.
First of all, I hope it was not a slip of tongue. I am double O. I am not OO.
Thirdly, you can see from this cap, double O, OO is Ofono upon her. He reached for the cap, lifted it just enough for everyone to see, and in that moment, it became more than fabric. It was a statement, double O, he read, almost ceremonially. Then came the twist. The contrast. Oh, he said, belonged to Ofono Opondo. We are distinct, he declared, softening it slightly with a nod to shared roots. Much as we are all Luos, it was hammer wrapped in precision, rivalry wrapped in identity. The audience chuckled, but the message had already landed.
You can see from this cap, I wanted to make a clear distinction. OO is Ofono Opondo. Double O is me, and we are distinct, much as we are all wars, and no bad intentions.
Fourth, Odonga roasted Ofono Opondo through the window, and then the fire Otto pivoted sharply, congratulating Opondo, but not without a sting. After coming to Parliament through the window, he said, smiling just enough to make it cut deeper. The room reacted instantly, but Opondo, seasoned and steady, fired back. He reminded Otto that the very law enabling his entry was passed by people like him. It was no accident. It was structure. It was representation.
And I wish to congratulate you upon the victory of coming to Parliament through the window. I wish
you're in Parliament which passed the law, but yeah. Other persons above 60 should be represented.
We need to amend that law. Physically less able. Otto wasn't done. He leaned in again, sharpening his tone. We need to amend that law, he said, almost as if drafting legislation right there on air. For you to qualify, you must be physically less able. The audience laughed, shifted in their seats. It was controversial, bold, and unmistakably Otto, pushing boundaries, forcing reactions.
I think we even need to amend that law. For you to qualify to be old, you should not be able to walk 2 hills. You must be physically less able.
Go to a constituency, not Serena, Sheraton. Then came the final wave. Otto challenged Opondo's political ground. suggesting he should have tested himself in a real constituency, like his friend Norbert Mao, meet real voters. He said, not these ones of Serena, Sheraton. The job was clear, elite spaces versus grassroots reality. He even threw in the number, about 200 voters, just to seal it. But Opondo stood his ground, explaining the purpose of representing older persons, advocacy, visibility, voice. Yet Otto relentless, cut in again. You will have that in orientation week. He said dismissively, experience versus introduction, where you are going, I was there. And then the tone shifted. For a moment, the fire gave way to reflection. Otto spoke of time of joining parliament at 23, leaving at 43, 20 years inside the machine. He warned the young politics is dangerous terrain before 27 unless you are built for it. The host tried to interject, isn't the starting join 18, but Otto didn't budge. It's dangerous, he repeated. He named names, young leaders rising, first ministers at 38, and asked the haunting question, what happens next? What happens at 50? Then almost quietly, he spoke of mentorship, of being guided, of giants like Norbert Mao, Ukur Park, and Dr. Balamo shaping him. And just like that, the debate was no longer just about double O and OO. It had become a story of identity, power, experience, and the long and predictable road of politics.
Opondo should have gone for a constituency like of my friend Norbert Mao, so that you meet the real voters. Not these ones of Serena, Sheraton.
I think he had about 200 voters.
I can see that Odonga didn't understand, didn't appreciate why they were seeking representation of other persons. It is really to lobby, to bring their predicament of older persons.
You'll have that in the orientation week.
So please.
Yeah. So
the older person.
where you are going, I was there. So you need to listen a little attentively. To me, I've been in Parliament for 20 years. I joined at 23. I left at 43. I think there is need for some legislative reforms. First of all, you need to save the young MPs. I would say it's a very risky business for anyone to join Parliament below 27 years. Below 27 years is not advisable. I wouldn't advise anyone, because unless you're a career politician, you are going to have difficulties.
I thought the starting point is 18.
Yeah, but it's dangerous. Where is Honorable Alengot, who came to Parliament at 19 years? I sympathize with people who are ministers. Peter Guang Obua, at 38 years. What will you do when you're 50? So there is a normal trajectory of life. But that aside, we were mentored in Parliament. I was personally mentored by senior legislators, Norbert Mao, Okure Park, Dr. Balamo.
Away from that, there are things you need to know. The first one, Mao as Speaker, risk ostracism. The conversation took a sharp political turn when Opondo questioned the idea of elevating Norbert Mao to Speaker. His tone was cautionary, almost warning. He argued that such a move might not bring independence, but instead deepen control, suggesting that the ruling national resistance movement could hold him by the collar. It painted a picture of power not just being held, but tightly managed. Secondly, the fish rots from the head contradiction. Opondo didn't stop there. He dug into Mao's past words, recalling the famous phrase that the fish rots from the head. Now, he pointed out, Mao serves under that very same head he once criticized. The studio paused, and that contradiction was it growth, compromise, or political survival? Third thing, warning from the future. 12th Parliament, when Mao responded, he shifted from defense to warning. If Uganda walks into the 12th Parliament with the same leadership mindset as the 11th, he argued the outcome could be even worse. His voice carried urgency. This wasn't just debate. It was a focus, a caution to voters, to leaders, to the system itself. Fourthly, wealth of MPs questions without answers. Mao then struck at a sensitive nerve. Wealth. He painted a vivid image of ordinary citizens watching MPs accumulate visible riches and asking quietly, what do they sell? Gold mines, hidden deals. It wasn't an accusation as much as it was a reflection of public suspicion, one that hung heavily in the room. Fifth, the haste that defined the parliament. He went further back, anchoring his argument in a specific moment, March 11, 2024, during a parliamentary commission discussion. He reminded viewers that Opondo himself had used the word haste, not just corruption, but brazen robbery. The word echoed in the debate, a reminder that language in politics can return louder and heavier. Six, from critic to defender. Mao then turned the spotlight back on Opondo's present opposition, now entering parliament and aligning with top leadership of the 11th parliament. Mao suggested Opondo is almost obligated to soften his earlier stance. The implication was clear. Power changes perspective. Words that were once sharp become inconvenient. Seventh, inside NRM, Opondo does define rules. Still more acknowledge something many overlook about the national resistance movement: its internal flexibility. You can join today, he said, and rise quickly, even with the Central Executive Committee. But that openness comes with structure. Those are the rules, he noted, suggesting that freedom exists, but within boundaries carefully designed. Eighth, orientation or illusion. Closing the segment, Opondo returned with a more institutional concern. 2 weeks of orientation for members of parliament, he argued, is simply not enough. Beneath that statement was a deeper issue: preparation. If lawmakers are not fully equipped, what kind of decisions are they making? And at what cost? The debate, layered with sharp exchanges and reflective pauses, revealed more than disagreement. It exposed the shifting nature of power, the weight of passwords, and the quiet tension between principle and position.